trends 2025. We're talking about VR. I think, I've been a big fan of that for a long time, but I still think we have a few years out. One of the things when is streaming going to surpass linear? What are your opinions about 2025 and beyond? Anyone take the horn. What are you excited about for 2025? What do you think might finally hit in 2025 that we've been waiting for a long time?
I can go first. I think we've already made a bet at Victory Plus that sports should be free, and that includes all sports. And that bet, which also means that we've made a bet on ad tech, on how we can monetize sports content using advertising, how we can grow audiences differently. The third bet that we've made is, for the most part, we're making everything only available on a stream. We're not sort of having a linear play on the side. We're running an experiment with the Ducks today where we're showing some Ducks games on a linear network out there, but we're also streaming it. And with the Dallas Stars, we're showing all of it only on the streaming service. And the fourth bet, I think, which is an interesting one, is that for folks like us, we've moved into production as well because we're the one producing the games now. That particular combination of events, right, where we're not taking the stream from somebody else and putting it out there, we're producing the game, we're running the tech here actually. So being fully vertically integrated is for me an interesting bet and sort of speaks to the cyclical nature of the industry that we operate in, where you go from being vertically integrated to being sort of, fragmenting and sort of letting specialists come in and do little pieces, and then you'll go back to that. And I think there is at least we'll sort of see how this bet plays out in real time over the next few years, and I'm sure I'll hear from you guys on what we do well and what we do badly. But there is a inherent bet in there that says that make sports free, make it available, let ad dollars sort of drive revenue for you, right? And be streaming first, and in most cases, only streaming with no linear or cable content.
Jared, coming from I don't want to say legacy because I love Paramount, but from a well-established company, what's your take on that same thread?
Look, you know, linear is still king when it comes to like the amount of people who are watching. You think about like the Super Bowl we had we did in January. You had over 100 million people. I forgot the exact number. It was record breaking. The vast majority of it was still on traditional linear viewership from a MVPD or a virtual MVPD. While YouTube TV and Comcast, one's of course a lot more established. There's hardware involved. YouTube TV is you kind of go and come and go as you want, but it's still the traditional TV model. Vast majority, it was there. Paramount Plus record days and numbers, but still in comparison to traditional linear, it's still, you got a big gap. But it's every year it's shrinking. So I mean that vehicle of traditional TV is still important, still a big money maker, and still just works. The stuff we had to do for Paramount Plus to get ready for the Super Bowl took us a year to get ready. That's not to say linear isn't taking a long time to do an event like that. I was walking around the compound before that Sunday, and 25 trucks and this and that, and they ask, hey, what do you guys have in digital? Be like, I go to freewill.com and I log in, and what happens if that breaks? Being like, I don't know. Not that they break or whatever, but it's just a very different mentality of the appreciation. I think I have gained over 2 decades of what linear is, how it works, and then how do you try to apply that to digital. But I think there's still a long way to go for digital to live up to that TV like standard.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons, and you pointed at it, right, that people still kind of default to the set-top box or whatever, is like, that's going to work. You don't want to take a risk on like, what might be the most important game of the year for you to spectate. They're like, the stream might crash. Like, screw that. Let's just watch it on a cable box and make sure that we get it. I think that's a confidence thing, right? That like, we're going to keep on building trust in users in the audience base, that like you can trust a stream, and it's going to be reliable, and you're not going to miss the game. You're not going to miss the critical moments. You're not going to be left like fumbling, try to find some other way to watch it when, quarter of the way through the game, the stream breaks, right? So like, I think that's something that, we'll obviously continue to progress towards. And just sorry, quickly to build on Narendra's point. I appreciate you taking a bet on the ad tech piece of it. I think it's the right bet on programmatic monetization of these things. I think it's the right bet. And from my perspective, talking about sort of like trends and where things are headed, I think there's two things that are really interesting. One is, as these events progress, and as we spend time, focusing, looking at them, studying them, right? We looked at the US VP debate, and we looked at, election coverage and all this stuff. And how did we, as an ad exchange, how did we experience all of these events? There were so many learnings that we took away from each of these events, so that, each time we serve ads for one of these events, we're iterating, we're getting better and better. I think my prediction is we'll see next year, we'll probably, finally get to a point where we can say like, yeah, ad tech is, within the next year or so, ad tech is pretty reliable at being able to like return ads. Maybe not, like fill up every, every available position. Maybe you'll still see some slate here and there, but at least we'll be able to reliably say like, we're not crashing streams. We're able to return demand. We're able to make every impression opportunity actually available to a buyer to bid on. I think we're getting closer to that stage. So I think that's sort of like one. Yeah, go ahead, Jared. Tell me
well, I think I'm glad we're disagreeing a little bit. Like, you're not wrong in that, like, we're progressing on it, but I think the move from traditional linear to streaming for a debate, a Super Bowl, I think that move is happening at a much faster pace, and ad tech isn't fast enough to keep up with it. And it keeps coming back to like, it comes down to the core. One of the core things that I know we're working on the IAB Tech Lab of like, how do we do it? It's like, ad tech can't handle concurrency. It can't. Today, leading up to today, and it's like, given this has been an ongoing, this isn't a new problem. There's been large scale live events for years. Primarily it was always Super Bowls, but then like, as things progress, I'll always use Paramount as the best examples. We have UEFA, we've got live streaming news. We keep running into the same problems, like, hey, can you handle this QPS on this event? And they're like, please no, don't call us. Put caps, put bid caps on this, because it's not just a bid for a user, there's a whole pod, and it's open, OpenRTB 2.6 adoption, or are you still on 2.5? Like the users are running. I want to say we're kind of, like the 2 or 3 year olds, we're kind of crawling, we're walking ish, but we're not moving fast. We're not able to move fast enough just on handling the scale of the events, let alone the ad selection of those events and the feedback loop, because a lot of this stuff is still display ad tech based, not 100% video.